Right friends, welcome back to 41st week Capsule 1. This is on Kigali Pact, and after Paris climate deal, there is a lot of buzz around this Kigali agreement. You may ask, where is Kigali? Kigali is in Rwanda. Please look into this map. Kigali is the capital of Rwanda, and recently 28th meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol was held in Kigali, and around 197 countries agreed to reduce the use of hydrofluorocarbons by roughly 85% of their baseline by 2045. And basically, Kigali Agreement is amendment to 1987 Montreal Protocol. A short while from now, we are going to deliberate on what is meant by Montreal Protocol, and let us look at some more information with regard to Kigali Pact. Basically, Kigali Pact is to reduce hydrofluorocarbons or HFCs. HFCs constitute a family of greenhouse gases, but the problem is they trap thousands of times of more heat in the Earth's atmosphere in comparison to carbon dioxide. All of you are well aware, carbon dioxide is the largest greenhouse gas. The hydrofluorocarbons constitute minuscule quantity, but they trap thousands of times more heat in comparison to carbon dioxide. So, the main worry is with hydrofluorocarbons. This is amendment to Montreal Protocol, and before going ahead, we have to deliberate on Montreal Protocol. Montreal Protocol is the international treaty to protect the environment against harmful substances, and this treaty was formulated in 1987 and came into force in 1989. To understand this, we have to go back to the era of 1980s. In 1980s, there was a big hole was detected in the ozone layer over the Antarctica region. And please look into this slide. The first layer above the earth is a troposphere, followed by stratosphere, and ozone layer is the layer of atmosphere in stratosphere. And ozone layer is basically O3. It is an oxygen molecule having a composition of O3. 3 oxygen atoms form as one molecule, and that is ozone layer. And let us go back to 1980s. In those days, because of use in refrigeration as well as air conditioning, in those days I am talking about, in 1980s, chlorofluorocarbons used to be released, and these chlorofluorocarbons released from refrigeration as well as air conditioning used to reach the ozone layer, and because of sun's ultraviolet rays, this chlorine used to be liberated from chlorofluorocarbons. Let me tell you once again, because of sun's ultraviolet rays, chlorine used to be liberated from chlorofluorocarbons, and subsequently this chlorine damaged ozone layer. This chlorine atom used to detach one atom of ozone by making ClO and in turn releasing oxygen. So that's why it resulted in the chain reaction, and ozone layer used to be destroyed in those days. Because of destruction of ozone layer due to chlorofluorocarbons, big hole in ozone layer was detected in 1980s. After detecting big ozone hole, the scientists came to the conclusion that chlorofluorocarbons released by refrigeration and air conditioning are primarily responsible for destruction of ozone layer. If ozone layer is destroyed, what will happen? When ozone layer is not there, harmful ultraviolet rays reach the earth directly from sun. Previously, this ozone layer used to act as a shield, And when ozone layer is destroyed, what will happen? Directly sun rays, that is ultraviolet radiation from sun, reach earth and it causes damage to the biological life, and this was the scenario in 1980s. So accordingly, in 1980s, it was decided that chlorofluorocarbons are to be phased out. This is all about the Montreal Protocol. Montreal Protocol was with regard to phasing out of this chlorofluorocarbons, and in place of chlorofluorocarbons, this hydrofluorocarbons came. In place of chlorofluorocarbons, this hydrofluorocarbons came. And what is the problem with hydrofluorocarbons? Hydrofluorocarbons trap thousands of times more heat in comparison to carbon dioxide. That's why global warming is taking place. So phasing out this hydrofluorocarbons gradually by the year around 2045, 0.5 degrees centigrade rise in temperature can be eliminated. So by the year 2100, rise in temperature can be reduced by 0.5 degrees centigrade by phasing out this hydrofluorocarbons by around 2045. So this is all about Kigali Pact and amendments to this Montreal Protocol. Right friends, now as per Kigali Pact, 3 separate timelines were formulated because of the reason developed countries releasing hydrofluorocarbons substantially, and still in a country like India, many people are yet to use air conditioning, and the usage of air conditioning will increase substantially in the near future. If you take country like India, and 3 separate pathways were devised depending on the present level of release of hydrofluorocarbons. Right friends, if you look at group 1, richer countries like European Union, USA are kept in group 1, and these countries will reduce this hydrofluorocarbons to about 15% of the baseline levels of 2010-12 by the year 2036, and countries like China, Brazil will reduce to 20%. That means if the usage is 100 tons, they will reduce it to 20 tons. So countries like China, Brazil will cut them down to 20% of 2020-22 baseline levels by 2045. And if you look at country like India, these countries will reduce them to about 15% of 2024-26 baseline levels by 2047. So 3 groups were devised, and India is in group 3, America is in group 1, China is in group 2. Right? So this is all about the amendment to Montreal Protocol. Let me tell you in a nutshell, as per Montreal Protocol of 1987, the emphasis was on reducing chlorofluorocarbons so as to limit damage to ozone layer. Then now this protocol is about reducing the use of hydrofluorocarbons so as to control the temperature rise, because hydrofluorocarbons trap thousands of times of heat in comparison to carbon dioxide. Right friends, how do we view this pact? And all the modalities will be worked out by the next year meeting of the parties, and this year this was formulated and almost 197 countries agreed, and this Kigali Pact is in the making for the past 7 years, and it will result in reducing the global temperature rise by about 0.5 degrees centigrade. Though some critics are not agreeing to this, that is different story. And China is the world's largest producer of hydrofluorocarbons, and in fact the matter was discussed when Xi Jinping and Barack Obama met in the year 2013, and both the countries are already devising ways with regard to alternatives to hydrofluorocarbons, and at the same time, as I have already told you, remaining issues will be sorted out before the next year's meeting of the parties. And please don't forget, this is amendment to Montreal Protocol, and there are penalties for non-compliance, and they are binding on the countries who signed Montreal Protocol, and clear directives will be given with regard to funding support by developed countries, and these things will be worked out before next year's meeting of the parties. And overall, the deal is expected to result in the reduction of an equivalent of 70 billion tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And what about India? As per the news reports, in India, only 2 to 3% of households have air conditioners. There is no accurate analysis as far as the households having air conditioners, but as per the news reports, only 2 to 3% of households have air conditioners, and the market is growing at around 20%. And alternatives to hydrofluorocarbons such as hydrofluoroolefins, that is HFOs, are expensive and will have a bearing on the cost structure, and these alternative gases are not manufactured in India. That means alternatives to HFCs, alternatives to hydrofluorocarbons are not manufactured in our country, and some of the alternatives to hydrofluorocarbons have got patent rights to somewhere around 2025, and the cost structure of air conditioners and refrigerators will increase. That is one aspect, and at the same time, product is to be redesigned, servicing equipment, then training of personnel. These are the important matters if you look at India. So this is all about Kigali Pact, and more news will be evident as and when the next meeting of the parties in 2017 is held, and the structural formalities and the guidelines for its implementation in much more detailed terms will be made known in due course of time before the next meeting of the parties in 2017. And this Kigali Pact is the amendment to Montreal Protocol to reduce hydrofluorocarbons. This is all about Kigali Pact. Have a nice day. Thank you.